Welcome to Wizards of the Tower.
Roleplay.
In this episode, part 2 of House Rules. Now, these are our house rules.
Yeah.
Welcome to Wizards of the Tower.
Roleplay.
And we're going to do part 2 now of our house rules. We've got a lot of rules, and we don't mean to be draconian on any of these. We're just trying to make an enjoyable game for our group and to keep our house clean and in order and just have fun.
Yeah.
That's the overall thing. So we're an accepting group. We accept everybody from every walk of life. We just may ask certain things. Like in past ones we said, no politics and religion, no nagging, take your shoes off when you come into the house, being able to play other character classes, non-game talk while gaming, keep that, drinking heavy alcohol. Mm-hmm. So we're going to continue on in this, and so we ask that you role play, try to role play. You don't have to come up with a funny, I'm Reginald C. Duckling the Fourth, and I'm a paladin of Donald Duck.
Yeah, we don't ask that you do like real complex stuff. If you want to, fine, because we've had people in the past who've made that stuff really enjoyable. But what we ask you to do is to get into your character.
Yeah, play your character.
Play your character like you would play it, and some people, because that gives some people a chance to really inhabit that character space. And it makes for an enjoyable game, at least I think so.
Yeah.
Now, in the past, we've had people who just basically kind of sat there. I mean, we had this one person who played an Elven Ranger, level 7, who didn't have any of the basic Elven Ranger feats, like, Vital Strike, Multi-Shot, or anything. Yeah. And I asked her, I said, Don't you have any of those Elven Ranger feats, like with the arrow?
Yeah, she didn't make their own character either.
Yeah, and she was like, well, I guess not. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're really, what are you doing? What's the deal? And of course, she didn't last very long.
Yeah.
But and I got to thinking about that. Maybe I shouldn't have been so harsh. But I wanted to bring to the point of, like, if you're going to take the time and effort to sit there and inhabit a space in someone's game, please take it seriously enough to take your character seriously.
Yeah. Be in the present.
Be present.
Be present. Have fun. Don't take game comments about your character personal. We've never actually seen that, but I've heard of it happening, where somebody says, makes a comment and the person takes it all personal and gets all mad and bent out of shape, and then you get a conflict. We've never had that in our group.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if we've ever had anything like that.
We've never had that in our group.
No, because we usually limit a lot of the interpersonal conflict and criticism. A lot of times we'll shut it down real fast to keep that from becoming an issue. Yeah, we've had issues where we've had players who have conflicted, and we've had people who have walked out. And we've had 2 instances of walkouts where we've had people just put their books on the table and get up and walk out.
Yes.
So, but that had more to do with personality conflicts that had been simmering for a while.
And we'll get to the whys on why that happened.
Yeah, but we've had that happen. And so I tend to think a lot of times that people let stuff like that simmer for some reason, and then it just comes to a head all of a sudden, and then they can't take it anymore.
Yeah. Compromise, teamwork, participate.
Yeah.
Don't always be the controlling person, which is another one we have, is don't be the controller. But, compromise. Work as a team. Don't be your idea's stupid, we're going to do it this way. And you're always that way.
Yeah.
Say, well, that's a great idea. Let's try it. Be willing to compromise.
Now,
and work together as a team. Participate.
Yeah. As groups, I mean, some of the best combat we've ever had is where we worked as a team together.
Yeah.
As a functioning team. to defeat monsters. I mean, with magic, with distance attacks, with close-in attacks, with healing. And it's worked out. And that's the great thing about D&D and about role-playing games,
Yeah.
you know, and tactical games is you learn teamwork. You learn how to fight together.
Yeah. No needlework, knitting, sewing, smartphone app developing, content creator texting, using your phone, falling asleep at the table, non-game music. That's not welcome in the table. We've had people that have sat there and done needlepoint, or knitting, needling, sewing, developing an app, playing music that was just, you know, they're playing their YouTube channel on their phone, and it's like, you know, stop. You know, that you're playing something that doesn't fit into the game. If you want music, that's fine. I'm more than willing, if you're playing a bard, if you want to have music, your bard playing music, and you want to pull up a song that you're playing, that's fine. Just make it part of the game. Don't make it, you know, Metallica's one, because that doesn't fit into the game.
Yeah. We've had people who are constantly texting their friends during the game.
Yeah.
They're there doing this, and you're trying to get their attention because they need to attack this camp of rebels, and they're just over there doing this. They're just not even connected.
Yeah. Well, my mom's been sick, so I've been trying to keep in touch. Well, that's fine and dandy, but please excuse yourself from the table if you're going to.
Yeah.
If you have an emergency, you know, just say, you know, I'll be back in just a second. Go step away, do your text, come back. You know, that's the way you do that. You don't sit there and keep doing it at the table. Excuse yourself from the table. It's like if you're in a meeting, you're going to step up for a meeting and say, excuse me, I'll be right back. I've got something important here.
Yeah. Typically people do that. We've had people get up from the table and say, look, I'm sorry, I got to take this. It's my kid.
Yeah, or work's calling.
Yeah, and then they'll go upstairs or over by the staircase or whatever, and you'll hear them talking, and then they'll come back and say, sorry, I have to, you know, I got to leave an hour early because I got to go pick my kid up.
We had a player here whose kids are with their ex on the weekends, and their kids were calling every 30 minutes.
With every little complaint you could possibly, you know, Dad won't let us go swimming. Well, it's up to your father.
Dad won't let us have ice cream. Dad won't let us have candy.
It's up to your father.
Dad won't let us pet the cat.
It's up to your father. You know, that kind of thing. And it really got annoying. It's like, look, why are you here? You know, can't you disconnect? Please try to disconnect from that.
Yeah, I understand if there's an emergency. Step away from, you know, say, look, I've got to step away for a moment. I've got an emergency. You get up, you handle it, you come back and say sorry.
Yeah.
You know?
The thing that really gets me, and the electronic media is bad, because Delaney and I are old enough to remember before all of this, when everything was pens and papers, and we didn't have phones, we didn't have computers. We just sat there, we just made, we played, you know, by using our pen and paper. Okay. The thing that gets me is the people who want to do handicrafts while you're supposed to be gaming, and they're over there knitting.
Or creating their smartphone apps.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, Janelle, what are you going to do? Were we in the dungeon? And it's like, what? Yeah, we've been in the dungeon for 3 days. You know, and they've got a big train of knitting going down the, you know, the hallway, because they're knitting this, you know, whatever, you know, tow cable or something, and they're not even paying attention. They're just there to just kill time. That's really annoying, folks. I got to tell you, that's terrible. And it's an insult to the DM, who puts out a lot of time and effort, you know, to make a good game.
You know, like, so Tom always writes in his journal, and there's sometimes he'll draw if that's his character. He'll be drawing. But every time I come to Tom, he's ready to go, because he's paying attention.
I pay attention with one part of my brain, and I sketch and draw what's happening in the game with my other part. Yeah. That's just how I do it. So, and I'm always thinking ahead. That's, I think, tactically. So I've got drawings, you know, and I'll draw these little things out, you know, as we play. And this is for a little game we had called Aces and Eights, where we played. And I would sketch this stuff, you know, as we were playing, as I was writing in the journal.
Yeah.
Now, the whole thing was to enhance our storyline, you know, as we went along, but also to pay attention to what was going on in the journal, and to create a physical record.
And that was his character.
For what was happening.
Part of his character.
Yeah, and my character actually was traveling the West and keeping a visual record of what was happening in the world around him by drawing and sketching. Okay, so I was playing a character, but I was also enhancing the game and creating a record of the game. But I was also paying attention, and I never slipped off to the point where I didn't know where we were or what we were doing, because I always had an idea. that's the kind of engagement you kind of have to make if you're going to play, because it's a lot of time investment.
Yeah. We're not a babysitting group, so we don't want you bringing your newborn here, your 5-year-old or your 12-year-old. If your 12-year-old is a gamer and they want to join the game, we will welcome them as long as they follow the rules and they're not distracting from the game and they're not getting up and digging through stuff. Sit and play the game. I had my boys, when they were 9 and 10 years of age, they would play. They would sit and they would play, and they enjoyed it. They didn't get up and mess with anybody's stuff if we went to somebody else's house. Well, the one time we went to somebody else's house, they said, they can't be here because they'll make a mess. And it's like, no, they don't.
Yeah, that's another story.
That was another story.
Yeah.
But, we did have a player that wanted to bring their 2-year-old kid and their 12-year-old kid, and the 12-year-old kid would sit and watch TV, and it's like, not happening.
Not happening. We're playing. We're gaming. Your kid, we're not babysitting. Your kid's not sitting over in the corner watching Transformers, blaring it on the TV while we're going to be playing. And then you yelling all the time at your kid. Forget it. Get a babysitter. Whatever. Yeah. One of the funniest things we ever had was when we first started playing. We had a couple, and they brought their newborn infant in a child carrier and set it down on the floor between them. And halfway through the game, one of the players didn't know that the infant was there, and the infant was making little cooing sounds, and this other player was like looking around, and then a few minutes into the game and stuff, and he kept noticing this, but as the game went on, he was like, what's going on? And finally, he looked over and he's like, "What? There's a baby there. How'd that baby get here?" And everybody just started laughing because they had brought the baby, and the baby was asleep the whole time. But it was it was too much of a distraction. Yeah. You just don't bring your baby. Get a babysitter or put off gaming until your kids are old enough to go to some kind of after-school program, whatever. I know babies can be buzzkills. It's like having a baby stuff
in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you can't watch the movie theater.
I know, like, babies can be tough on gaming and stuff like that because you got to pay attention. Okay, but have respect for the other people in the group.
Yeah. Yeah. Metagaming, which we already talked about.
Yeah.
We have these numbered, by the way. As a player to another player, don't tell another player what to do and not to do with their character.
Whoa, yeah.
We had a player that would do that constantly, and that's when we had one player grab his books and actually walk out because this person kept saying, "No, don't do that, do this."
Yeah.
And the guy, after multiple times, finally just said, "Enough." He got up and he walked out. And he never came back.
No, he never did.
And it was a loss because he was a good player.
He was a good player. Yeah. Now,
but this guy would do this all the time. And he would do it to me, and I would look at him and just do the totally opposite of what he wanted, and he would get so mad.
Yeah.
He would get so mad. And then what's funny is usually when it happened, I was in the right and he was in the wrong. What I came up with doing was a solution, and what he was planning on doing was not a solution.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember that vividly.
He was also the guy that wanted to play that played the monk that was okay for slavery.
Yeah, metagaming, totally. I will say if I have one fault in playing D&D, it's that I sometimes suggest to other people what they should do. A lot of times, I can't help it. I think tactically quite a bit. And I'm always thinking, okay, if I were you, I would hold your action until I shoot my arrows, then you can shoot yours.
Right, but it's a suggestion.
Yeah.
It's not saying, hey, do this. It's like, you might want to consider.
Yeah.
Which would bring us to our next one is don't throw a temper tantrum if someone suggests something that you do as a player.
Yeah.
If somebody is saying, hey, have you thought about doing this? No, I haven't. Okay.
A lot of times I'll suggest to the other players, I'll say, look, we've got time right now. I think we should go hunting so we can get more food.
Yeah, and all you have to do is say, I don't like that idea. I'm going to do this. Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
and we've had people say, well, I don't want to hunt. I'm gonna go work on my bow. It's like, oh, okay, whatever you want to do. The thing is trying to lord it over people in that sense and trying to kind of direct them down other avenues. It sort of goes against what we believe in when it comes to role-playing games. So we want people to play their characters individually how they want to play them. And to chart their own course, so to speak, within the avenues of the game itself.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want someone to create a dolphin character when we're doing a desert campaign. I bring that up a lot because we've had issues where people do stuff like that, and they're just not thinking. Okay, but on the other hand, if you want to create like a character who may be a little different, or maybe you want to play them differently, that's fine. It's just that sometimes, you know, that character may not mesh with the group, but as long as you can role play it and it works out, good. More power to you.
Yeah. You play with everyone in the group. If you don't like somebody, play with them. You know, if you don't want to play, then don't play in the group.
Yeah. We've had people in our group.
You know, personality differences.
Yeah.
Accept everybody's personality differences.
Yeah. We've had people in our group who I haven't liked personally, but I was able to game with them, and we were able to game with them. Personally, I would never want anything to do with them outside of the gaming group.
Yeah.
But we did as gamers. They were good gamers, but they just weren't the best people. So sometimes you run into folks like that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just all about emotional maturity. You know, I like, you know, our group is a great group, but outside of it, wouldn't want to sit down and have a drink with that person. Not anyway.
Yeah, which is part of our next house rule that we have is don't pick on somebody. Just because you don't like them or don't agree with them, don't pick on them.
Yeah.
Because that's no fun. You know, then you're being a bully is what you're being. And nobody wants a bully.
Nobody likes a bully.
Yeah.
And we've had that. We've had people get on other characters, you know, other players about that. We've had them sort of exhibit kind of weird bullying behavior.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. We just had a little bit of that too. I can't think of who that was. We had to tell him to take it easy on that one character. Oh, it was the very loud person who was always cutting down the guy who was quiet.
Yeah.
And we finally had to tell him to look, take it easy on that guy. You know, take it easy on him. You know, he's a good player, but his personality is just very reserved. You know, you're very loud and overbearing. That doesn't give you license to, you know, bully someone who's quiet. So.
Yeah. DM has final say. If the DM takes control, if you DM, take control. Don't let others push others around.
Yep.
You know, be the control. You know, you are the DM. You have the control. The next one's in control are Tom and I because it's our house and we're going to stop you. But as a DM, you have the right to say, look, no, you know, take control.
Yeah. DM stuff. Delaney, who DMs a lot, she is the DM. She decides what to do in the game. Both of us decide if your behavior gets out of control, I'll tell you to leave our dang house right now. We've never actually had to do that. But in our older place, we've had some issues where people have drank too much, and we've been trying to, you know, we've either not let them come back or stop the game early and kick them out.
Yeah.
So, really, you know, when it comes to odd behavior or weird acting, it's like, look, I'll never hesitate.
Yeah.
You know, I'll call the cops if I have to.
Yeah.
You know,
we've never had to do that.
We never had to do that, but I will if we have to get rid of
I
them.
had an instance. I when you talked about that a long time ago, playing First Edition, I was in another guy's house, and this one player got really argumentative, and I was actually quite a bit older. I think I was 20. I think I might have been 19 or 20 at the time, and he was 16, and he got real argumentative with me, and he stood up, and I stood up, and he took a swing at me. And I pushed him, and he called the cops on me for assaulting a minor. And it's like, so when the cops, you know, finally reached out and they talked to everyone, the players were like, yeah, this guy took a swing at Delaney, and Delaney just kind of pushed him away, and, you know, he fell into the wall and fell down because of the push. You know, he lost his balance. But, you know, and that broke the group up.
Wow. Now that, I didn't remember.
No, I never told you that.
Wow.
Yeah, that guy.
Wow.
I got stories about that guy and his mom. His mom was one of these satanic panic and would tell you that she had seen Satan when her son started playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, it sure didn't help his behavior.
He ended up in prison.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
So, yeah, he took a swing at me. I remember that. That's the only time I've ever had violence. You know, here's a guy taking a swing at a 20-year-old woman.
Look, I mean, people, for gosh sakes, if you can't moderate your behavior for a few hours a day, what are you going to do? I mean, really, it doesn't surprise me you don't end up in prison or in the electric chair. You know, I mean, moderate your behavior to the certain point where you can function with people. Man, yeah, no, we've never had that happen in our most recent group.
I've heard of groups breaking out in fisticuffs.
I've heard of people tackling each other and punching people out because of bad rolls, of cheating, of not doing what the monster was supposed to do, that kind of stuff. Yeah, we've all heard rumors of that, and that's really crazy.
Yeah, that's something we don't have a rule of, but if it ever happened, I think, depending upon who it was, it may be both players gone, but
no violence, no violence, no threats, no insults.
Hey, here's another one. I used to play with a guy, and you've heard me talk about him. You knew the guy. He just recently passed away. That at a game he was a cop. He was a reserve cop, and he would bring his pistol, and I would make a comment, and he'd pull out his .45 and he'd chamber around, and you're like, holy shit.
And you have talked about that guy before. He was unusually fond of fondling his gun. Yeah. Well, again, maturity. Enough said.
That's scary. That's scary. Yeah. Role-play your handicaps. If you've got handicaps as a character, your weaknesses, play them. But what we mean by that is, if you're not a strong diplomat, don't try to be the diplomat.
Yeah. We had to start making the metagamers roll.
There's
for this
a guy
kind
that's
of
got
stuff.
a charisma of 7, and his diplomacy is -3, and he's trying to be the diplomat of the group. And then he'd get mad when you wouldn't let him be the diplomat of the group and talk somebody into doing something.
It was his controlling personality and the fact that he liked to do a lot of talking anyway.
He's the same guy who liked to control people.
Yeah, and when we're like, he was like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to the gate guard. When you get us in, I'm like, well, you better roll it. What's your diplomacy? I don't have any diplomacy. What's your charisma? 7. All right, roll it. And he would roll like a 3. It's like, all right,
you just pissed him off.
Yeah, you're under arrest now. I mean, because that didn't work. So play your character adequately and properly. Yeah. Don't go out of the bounds.
Yeah. Don't tease the DM. That's part of the nagging.
Have we had any teasing?
Yeah, we had a guy. It was part of the nagging. Teasing.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, come on. Don't be a bully. Don't be insulting. Don't tease.
One rule that I have, and this was in a game that, to me, I thought this took away from the role play of the game, was the players would say, "We're pulling out the Scroll of Explanation."
Okay. So. Okay.
So Tom will tell you his side of the story, and as a DM, I hated the Scroll of Explanation.
Okay. So. We were on a very complex, difficult quest. And when we would run up on an NPC and they'd be like, well, who are you people and what are you doing? Well, we could take a half hour and explain this very complicated backstory of why we're doing what we're doing in this world that is very complex. Or, like we used to joke about it and say, we just whip out the Scroll of Explanation, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. Okay, now we're going to do it. So it got to be kind of weird because Delaney makes very complex worlds with really great storylines. But trying to explain them to someone can take a long time. Because really they're like novels. They're like novels all put together, and they're like a series of events and chapters and different sections of sagas put together in a story. And to explain that to somebody can take a long time. So, it just, we only had a few hours to play in an afternoon. We didn't want to spend an hour explaining to the captain of the guard why they should let us into town because we were doing this really complicated quest. So, I understand.
I wanted to see some role playing. Whether you cut, whether you do a brief, that's what I wanted, was a little bit of brief.
Okay. But we did a lot of role playing in that game anyway. A lot of role-playing in that game, so, I understand.
You're here to play every game that we play, or you're not in here to play any game we play. We have a person now that were getting ready to jump back into Pathfinder, and all they want to do is play Pirate Borg because that's all they've ever played. Pirate Borg is a great game. It's a fun game, and everyone enjoys Pirate Borg in the group. But we need to take a break. I need to take a break from GMing.
Yeah.
I want to get a little bit of playing in, and they don't want to play Pathfinder. And they just, can I bring my Pirate Borg character into my Pathfinder game? It's like, no. Well, I don't want to play Pathfinder. I don't want to play this. I don't want to play. I only want to play Pirate Borg. Well, I'm not going to call you up when we're playing Pirate Borg because I don't know when we're going to be playing Pirate Borg again. You know?
It's part of the gaming group where everybody makes a decision to change gaming systems.
Yeah.
We just wrapped up our Pathfinder 1 game. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a Pathfinder 2. Well, I don't want to do that. I want to play Pirate Borg. It's like we played Pirate Borg for a while, but we came full circle in that to a different character arc, and we're done. Now you want to go to Pathfinder 2.
Yeah.
Well, can I just keep playing Pirate Borg? It's like, what part of that don't you understand?
Well, I don't want to play Pathfinder, and I'm not going to play Pathfinder, but call me when you're playing Pirate Borg again.
Okay, that sounds cool. We'll give you a call when we're going to play Pathfinder or Pirate Borg again, or if we're going to play another gaming system.
Maybe 2 or 3 years down the road.
We don't know, but I would rather have someone do that and say, I want to be mature about this and say, look, I just don't want to play Pathfinder. I want to play Call of Cthulhu. So when you guys do get around to playing Call of Cthulhu, give me a call and I might be interested.
Know your dice. What's a d20? You need to roll your attack roll. What dice do I roll? Roll a d20. Which is the d20? Next combat. Okay, roll to attack. What do I roll to attack? Roll your d20. What one's a d20? And they grab a d12.
Know your game system. Know your dice rolls.
And this wasn't just one game session.
Yeah.
This was many game sessions.
Again and again and again. Now, I'll admit, okay, I don't know all the rules, and especially Pathfinder 2 is going to be very complex for me and for all of us. We're going to learn as we play, okay? And that's how it is. You learn as you play, so you remember these things.
Yeah.
But you should have a general idea of what kind of dice to roll. If someone says, give me a percentage roll, you don't grab a d6, okay? You grab your percentage and your 10 so that you can actually make a percentage. If someone says, give me an attack roll, you're most likely going to say, okay, I'll get my d20 out because that's your attack roll. If you're in a d12 system, that's different. Or a d10 system, that's different.
Right.
But Pathfinder tends to be d20.
It is a d20.
So.
Well, I hit, but what damage do I do? Well, what does your weapon say? Does it say d4?
Yeah,
Does it say d6? Does it say d8?
Look
it
at
says
your
a
sheet.
d8. What one's the d8? Is it this one? No, that's the d20. That's the one you just rolled.
So, look, take the game seriously enough to know the basic rules.
Yeah.
I don't know really why people don't do that. I think maybe it's because they just want to socialize and have fun, but they don't want to play.
I can understand a new player not knowing the dice. In fact, one of our players who's been with us for 2 years says, when I first started playing, I didn't know him, but within a session or two, I knew my dice.
Yeah.
And when we were at our local Comic-Con, there was something by Misty Mountain Games that I thought was a really cool thing. It would be great for a new player, and it was a dice rolling tray, and then it had a spot for each one of your dice, and it was numbered: D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, percentile, and a D20. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, that'd be a really cool thing for a brand new player.
Yeah, it's a learning aid.
And it's got a dice tray to roll your dice in too.
Yeah, it's a learning aid, which is good.
Yeah, and if you don't know your dice, put out a piece of paper or whatever, and put them and set them there.
I have little cheat sheets that I've written and scrubbed, sticking to my computer. This, you take this off for armor, you put this on for weapons. I have to do that because I can't remember everything.
Yeah.
But those are little device aids that help me play. There's nothing wrong with it. Take notes. Make notations of what you need to do for your armor reduction, for magic reduction, whatever. That's just all part of playing.
Yeah.
But take it seriously enough so that you're actually doing something like that, rather than, trying to rely on other people to help you play all the time, which I think is just really tiring.
The DM has the right to change a rule at any time if they feel it breaks their game. And I think that goes with any DM. And and I'm okay with that rule as a player. If a DM in the middle of the game, if he hands me his rules and said, okay, these are the rules for my game, and then midway through the game he says, no, we're not going to do it that way, I might say, well, why? And if I get an explanation, I'll say, okay, it's your game, it's your world. I'll live with that.
Yeah.
And the reason that came about is teleportation. There was a guy who wanted to teleport into a dungeon where they had found a buttload of treasure. It was guarded by a mummy that they defeated, but the mummy would come back.
Yeah.
Which they didn't know. And he wanted to keep teleporting back and forth into the dungeon to get the treasure. And he was being greedy about it. And I tried to tell him, it's like, you know, I don't like the rule of teleportation in my game. The rule in teleportation in my game is I don't want somebody to teleport and just here and there and everywhere. Now that's a great way to travel, but what if you want to assassinate the king? You just teleport into the king and kill him and teleport out? Well, you know, wouldn't someplace have protection against that? And if you're going to argue about that, or all the treasure, you know, leave what you take what you got and leave and be happy with it, be satisfied with it.
I remember that.
When I told him, he kept wanting to insist on teleporting in there. I said, well, look, the reason I don't want you to do this is you're going to be going in there by yourself because you're trying to maximize the treasure. I said, this was a greater mummy. Mm-hmm. You didn't kill him. He's going to be there. You're dead. You're going to get killed. And he didn't like that.
No.
But, you know, as a DM, now some people may not like that rule of my teleportation, but I have a rule of no monks in my system. Don't argue with me on that. It's a rule that I have.
Yeah.
And if I feel that a rule breaks my game for what I have, I don't want a ton of magic being created. So I have rules in my game about creating a ton of magic.
Yeah, you do.
So the DM has that option to change any rule that they want at any time if they feel it breaks their game.
Yeah, I mean, you give DMs power over the game system so that they can say, well, I've never been really comfortable with the way guys get their spells. So what I like you guys to do is to just have a spell book of your own, but it's limited, but you can do more. And I'll let that be a house rule in this game. I'll let that be a game rule to where you can have more of one or two spells, but less number of spells, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's DM's choice. And everybody be like, well, I like that, or I don't like that, whatever. I mean, we've had guys.
Well, there was the armor rule, and we have an episode which is a real popular episode about armor as damage reduction.
Yeah.
That wasn't our rule. That was somebody else's rule.
Yeah, and it was a really interesting way to do damage and to do hits and armor reduction.
But it was complex.
It was
confusing.
But it was a really interesting way to do it, and we played with it. It wasn't a problem. I mean, we played with it. It was fine.
That was his rule, so we played with it.
Yeah. So it can work out in that sense where there's an individualistic DM rule to where, they want to do something a certain way. As long as it's okay with the majority of the players, I'm sure it's fine. If you get some dictatorial DM who's just like, you can only hit someone once with a sword before it breaks. Well, who's gonna carry a sword then? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So there are limits to that, obviously. Yeah,
there are limits. And you as a player do have the option of asking why, and I'm going to explain it to you as a DM. Just accept my rules as a DM. Say, okay, you've explained it to me. I understand it. I accept it.
Yeah.
Don't argue with the DM. Well, I don't believe that. You can't change the rule because you didn't have it at the start of the game.
It's sort of like the Gamers movie. They're like, I'm going to backstab him with a ballista. No, you can't. It says right here.
It doesn't say in the rule book. It doesn't say anywhere in the rule book that I can't backstab him with a ballista.
Yeah, it says you can backstab damage right here, and that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, whatever. Okay, now you do it. So it's over.
You're carrying the ballista? Okay. Yeah. Fine. We kind of got into this next one with the needlepoint and everything else, and that's stay off your tech. Your phones, your tablets, your PC, unless you're using it for the game. Now, our group uses Hero Forge by Wolfslayer. Or Hero Lab. Hero Lab by Wolfslayer.
Yeah.
Because it makes controlling a character easy.
It does.
And creating a character. I can create a character in Hero Lab in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, Hero Lab Online, a little bit different story. That one's taken me a little bit to figure out and to train even Tom how to use it. If you're using your tablet to read a novel, to surf gaming news, to surf whatever, if it's not for the game, stay off of it. We all use our tablet or our PC to look up a rule. You can do it with Archives of Nethos and Pathfinder Wiki when you're doing Pathfinder. You can say, oh, boom, 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 there's the rule. Oh, okay, I don't have to go digging through the book. That's one thing. But when you're sitting there saying, you're sitting there texting your girlfriend about what you're going to go party, the party or the movie or whatever, that gets annoying because then it gets distracting.
Yeah, so we've had instances in the past where we're trying to game. We're doing some rolls, we're figuring out some rules, and we're moving along in the game, and all of a sudden one of the characters will just take their phone and go, "Hey man, let me show you. This is what I was talking about, that one football game."
Oh,
and they're like, and you're like, "What? What are you doing? I thought we were gaming. What? You're up next. What are you going to do with your arrows?" Oh yeah, just showing.
Oh, this is my spreadsheet for my fantasy football game.
Yeah.
My Narcon Rats. They're my fantasy football game. I call them the Narcon Rats, and I've got Judius Hayworth as my quarterback. And Fallopius.
It's obvious that you're not paying attention to the game. Your mind is somewhere else, and you're really not doing. You're not respecting the game and the other players.
Yeah.
And I haven't. It's really annoying. I don't like it.
Or you pull up your YouTube channel and start playing an annoying song that doesn't fit in.
We've had that before too. So.
I as a DM have done that. Players talking about dwarves and digging holes, and I'll pull up the Diggy Diggy Hole song.
Yeah. Yeah. Just as kind of a way to break the tension a little bit.
The tension.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the final rule that we have in our house rules is none of these rules are wrote in stone.
Nope.
They can be altered. They can be changed at any time. We can delete them at any time.
Yeah.
If it makes sense, why have it?
Yeah. The thing is, like I said, we have a gaming group to have fun, and we've had some laughs, man. Yeah. We've had some great times, some great laughs, and fun.
Yeah.
We've had people leave at the end of the night and go, "Thanks, this is the greatest time I've had gaming."
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. We've had great times. The thing is we're really an accepting group. We really have all kinds of people in our group, and we take it.
We tell that from our DEI.
Yeah, we take the whole aspect of gaming to be having a fun social encounter and have a good time. But really be respectful. Be respectful of the game, be respectful of the group, be respectful of your hosts. It all comes down to common decency, which I admit is not as common as people think, but it all comes down to common decency, to be that way around others. And you can have a lot of fun in a gaming group, but you're going to have some individuals who just really may not fit in that group personality-wise or something. And, that it just isn't going to work out. And then you need strategies to figure out how to tell them that. So the rules, like Delaney said, aren't set in stone.
No.
But they are there to provide guidelines so that you don't end up with a bully. You don't end up with people getting upset. You don't end up with the game group breaking up constantly because of bad behavior. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and as I tell my players, if it's not broke, break it so I can fix it. I want my players to have fun first and foremost. But I don't want somebody who nobody can play with. They're at the table, who's annoying, who just wants to argue, who won't respect me as a dungeon master, a dungeon mistress, whatever you want to call me. I would respect any other DM that's at the table. We have a guy who's going to be running a Pathfinder 2 game.
Yeah.
It's one of our players. And I've never played Pathfinder 2, and he's played it a few times, and he thinks it's a great system, and we're like,
we're going to try it.
I'm all for it, because finally I get to play.
Yeah.
This isn't like the last guy that said that we're going to join the group, and we were all ready to join his group, and then a week before the game he says, "Oh, I'm not going to game." That was annoying.
Yes.
This is a guy that's been gaming with us for 2 years, or almost 2 years. And it's somebody we didn't really know if they would fit in. And,
but it worked out.
Yeah.
And we're glad.
Yeah. So, anyway, we're going to end this episode of House Rules Part 2.
Wizards of the Tower.
And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, spread the word. Join us on Discord, ring the bell. Send us an email if there's an episode you want to see us talk about. We'll try and do what we can. That's at wizardsofthetowerrp@comcast.net. Spelled out, all one word, no dashes, no nothing. wizardsofthetowerrp@comcast, .net, or .com, excuse me. And we'll do what we can. So anyway, may all your adventures be epic.
And keep on rolling.
Thanks, folks.